Today I want to talk to you about how living in a simulated universe, the simulation theory, can really help you with things like anxiety and also any concerns, any problems that you have, and how it can really make a difference on your mindset. So I think it's fair to say, I've experienced anxiety before, certainly during the pandemic. There were certain things going on that put a lot of pressure on my family, pressure on myself. And I think whilst I knew about the simulation theory way before then, I don't think I would really used it, or I wish I'd thought about this more at the time. I think it would have helped an awful lot. So for the most part, anxiety is something that is based on a concern that you have about something that's happened in the past, maybe something that you dwell on, maybe it was something that was quite traumatic, so it's kind of difficult to get out of your head. It could be something to do with relationships or something that a partner's done. It could be your family relationships, or very often it's to do with something that could happen in the future. It's something that you're worrying about. So say, for example, at the moment, there's a lot of people concerned about their jobs. And whenever there's a concern about jobs, about redundancies, about being laid off, a lot of us as humans tend to think about the worst case scenario. Okay, so for most people with jobs, the first thing a lot of people think is, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to end up on the street, I'm not going to have any money for food, and so on and so forth. Sometimes people are worried about something they have to do at work, maybe they've got to do a presentation, maybe you're starting a new job and you tend to worry about what it's going to be like on the first day. Are the people going to be horrible? There's all of these things that you go through in your mind. But a lot of the times, for the most part, they say there's a statistic that something like 95% of things that we worry about in the future never happen, or they're nowhere near as bad as they think you were going to be. I mean, how many times have you done that, where maybe you started a new job or you're going to do a presentation, then once you get through it, you get that wonderful sense of relief, but then you think, oh, that was nowhere near as bad. Why was I worrying about it? It was nowhere near as bad as it was going to be. Sometimes it's maybe you're in a bad relationship and you have to end the relationship, which is never a fun thing. I mean, nobody likes ending a relationship, but quite often, once you finally do it and you realize that by you not finishing with someone, if the relationship is definitely not right, actually you're also, you sort of worry about them and you think, oh, how are they going to react, or are they going to try and do something to themselves? But at the same time, you're preventing them from going and finding somebody else who is the right person. And of course, the same can be said for you as well. So sometimes it's better to just don't overthink it. You just go and do it. I think fear, there's another good saying that time, fear feeds on time, or something like that. So the longer you put something off, the greater the fear is, and the more you try and avoid it. But how this all relates to the simulation theory and living in a simulated universe, this is where I think this can really help you with anxiety. And, I'm speaking from experience here, where there's things that have happened to me in a relationship, or things that I've got to do. And, there's times where I'm an IT trainer by trade, and there's times where I've had to do a presentation, maybe standing up in an auditorium with like 50 to 100 people standing there watching me, or sitting down watching me. And that is very daunting, even for someone who does that as a job. But then I started playing around with this idea of, well, if we're in a simulation and nothing is really real in the classic sense. So when we think about real, and I do reference The Matrix, the movie, of course, quite naturally. Oh, there's a black cat. I don't know what that signifies. Isn't that? Oh God, that's so weird. Isn't that weird? Isn't the in The Matrix, when you see a cat, that can be a sign of a glitch in the matrix, or when you get deja vu and stuff like that. I think that's when you see the same thing twice, isn't it? And you think, oh my goodness, that could be a glitch. That is really bizarre. That's really bizarre. I couldn't have timed that. I mean, I couldn't have planned that. That's just a random black cat. I've never seen a black cat in this car park where I'm sitting. I'm just outside a supermarket. But anyway, and now, of course, I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. But yes, Morpheus talks about, what is real is, things that you can taste or touch, but that's just effectively electrical signals, which brings us back to the whole idea of, these can just be produced by a computer effectively, and current electricity and so on and so forth. But if things aren't really real as we know them, as we were taught at school, then how can those things really affect you? Now, going back to my example of giving a presentation, I remember it was only about a year ago, and I thought, well, let's think, if we're in a simulation, are those people really real for a start? And if they're not, why am I embarrassed, or why am I worried about giving a presentation in front of what could be non-player characters, not NPCs as they call them in a computer game? Taking it a stage further, there's the concept within the simulated universe theory that you are the only real person. Okay, you are the main character, and everybody else is just a non-player character and stuff. So why would I be nervous about giving a presentation to non-player characters? It doesn't make sense. Another way of looking at it is we are all one. So everything comes from one thing. We're all part of the same being, the same, the same. God, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but we're all one consciousness. That's what I'm trying to say. We're all one consciousness. So I could be effectively giving a presentation to just another part of myself. And why would I be worried about what something else does? If a person is being nasty to you, or maybe they're being abusive or what have you, and I have to be careful what I say, because I appreciate if people can be in a really difficult situation that they just can't see a way out of. But again, maybe some people don't get out of that situation because they're worried about the consequences. But again, if they're not real, just try, just think about what would happen. How much better would your life be if you just took yourself out of that situation and just see what happens? Maybe, it's just not as bad as you thought it was going to be. Sometimes you can't change another person. You just have to get out of that situation. I've talked about this before, where I've lived in a bad part of town, and I could just see there was no way I was going to be able to change that situation. I couldn't change the people that lived there, or people around you burning out cars and having arguments in the middle of the night, doing drugs on the corner, and I had to walk past them with my, sort of toddler child at the time. The solution to that was to move away and get myself out of that situation. So without going off track, what I want you to take from this video is just reframe it in your mind. If we are in a simulation, the things that you're worrying about are not real things. Think of it like it's just a challenge. You're in a computer game and you just need to get to the next level. You need to jump over that chasm. You need to shoot that alien, whatever it might be. Don't go shooting people, of course, but I think you understand the parallel I'm trying to draw there. So if you got anything out of this video, please give me a like. And if you like this sort of content, if you like anything to do with the simulation theory, then please consider subscribing. I'm a very small channel right now. I think I've got 12 subscribers as I make this video. I would hugely appreciate it. And I'd love to hear your comments as well. Does this kind of thing help you? Have you got any tips that have helped you in the past with anxiety and things of that nature? So I'd love to hear those. So thanks for watching. Take care. I'll speak to you soon.